history about when APM was founded. It was first started by Dan Kurela in 2012 while I was working as the test manager at Zoox in 2011. So later on, he first had the idea of how to automate apps. Then he met a friend, which was Jason. Then 4 months later, they attended the Celium conference where he first put the APM software out to the public and made it an open software, and he made it the language I was used to create then was C Sharp. Then but it later changed to Python. Then in 2013, they got funding and backup by Source Labs that made to enhance the whole APM software to make it more efficient. And a new project lead was appointed, which was Jonathan Leeds, who is still the current project lead to date. Then in 2016, Source Labs sold the APM software as a project to JS Foundation in order to it to be adequately funded to see enable it to be an open source software. So now, how does it work? Before we understand how APM works, first understand the APM goal. Okay, so APM goal is first provide the platform specific automation. That means if you are creating apps for Android now, you can test it for Android softwares. If you are creating apps for iOS, you can test it with the iOS platforms. And it also helps you to use different languages just because APM itself is like an API. So when you integrate your API into your code or your code base, and it works with all languages. And you can see the API APM API is called Selenium API. It also helps with UI animation for your web browser apps. And it has drivers, which are like pluggable models for APM that gives power to automate the particular platform set of platform depending on the goal or depending on the coding. And if you can see, there's an image here that just showing the architecture of how it works and just a brief summary. So that's the Selenium API. It acting as the client and sending command, which an API HTTP request. You can also make it an HTTPS request if you want. Then it will send it to the APM server via a request. Then it will act as the wire protocol. If you see, it said the Java implements an API internal interface that represents the web Java protocol. And the implementation process is dependent on Java being used. That means depending on the Java you install, there are different versions of drivers you can use. Depend on that, that will determine how your automation will work. In the diagram again, it's up from Selenium, client lib, and all the jars to the APM server written in Node.js because the server was built in Node.js. Then you have the UI animator. You can also see you have the Android mobile. You also have the iOS mobile. And the explanations are the diagram is self-explanatory. Okay, so the ecosystem. So when you are using app APM, right, you have to like it comes in a package. You cannot just pick one and like say this is what I'm going to use. You have to like use the whole package, and that's where the Java, the client, the plugins, and the tools come in. So if the Java, what are Java is for? Java are used to link your APM, the APM API or server to the test device you want to use, and the drivers are maintained by the APM team. So let's say now I want to test with an iOS driver or a Android driver, and I want okay, I have to install the driver that I can use for Android devices on my system. Then the client helps to link the APM code to your own code and able to like run APM scripts on your code for your application. If you see examples of some of the drivers are Chromium, Espresso, Gecko, and UI Animator too. Examples of clients are the APM Java client, APM Python client, APM.NET client. So if your app was built on Java, the base is Java, you have to use Java client. If it was built with Python, Python client, and if it was built with C Sharp, .NET client. Then the plugins are used to like modify and add extra functionalities to your app. Same way, don't know if you have like now we're using Cordova, like same way you stop plugins for camera, geolocation and stuff. Same way you can use plugins here. Then we have our tools. The tools are used to interact with APM in ways like you have issues and you want to like debug your code or something, your script. That's what the tools are used for. Then what's the APM? Yes, APM is a command line interface. That's the command line interface. That's also the design interface. But these are some of the command line tools that you command line codes that you can run to check your APM after installing your APM. and you want to check the version you have. And note, some versions may not work for this particular system. So you have to find the version that works for you. So you have to check the version of what APM you installed. Then if you need help, let's say you want to know the codes that we're using or the codes that are used to perform specific actions, you can always run the APM-H or APM-help to give you a help message and list all the codes for you. Then we have the APM server, which is like the server where you run your automation on, like a virtual server. So if you want to like test it, an emulator, for example, yes. So if you want to like test it out, that's what you are doing. To drivers, manage your API drivers. Java is installed for different platforms like iOS, Android, and all that. And your plugins, to manage your plugins, and the API set is batch yourself a preset of drivers and plugins. Okay, so these are some of the commands. Okay, one thing in APM is that the commands are like divided into five, because they have like a set of commands, but they are divided into five major categories. So that one of them is the base driver, the execute driver plugin, the image plugin, the Wix, relax caps plugin, and the universal XML plugin. So those are all the way the codes are categorized into five different categories. So there's not enough time for me to go in depth explaining each one of them, but this is the basic summary of it. Then you want to develop with APM, is that you have to like to copy from the APM model, because when you install it in your system, it comes with the model. So from there, you like try to extract the files you want. And if you see said which extensions are the come from the main APM model, and you only need to install the extensions that you want to use. The modular structure also unlocks the ability to develop entirely new extensions. That means when you want whatever you want to work with, let's say you want to work with drivers now, you extract the drivers code and drivers files, and you work with that. So you have the drivers, you have the plugins, and Docker checks. What are Docker checks? Docker checks are vanilla Node.js class instances written by extension authors that simplify setup process by automating diagnosis and possible fix for the found issues. That means if you have like, okay, remember I said it was an open source software. So this Docker checks is like people contributions to the program. Let's say that you have an issue or you want to install the particular something and it's not in the APM, it was not in the foundation legacy APM software. Since it's an open source software, someone may have added what you are looking for. So you can just install what the person has, the functionality the person has inputted into the program, into your own file. So those are basically what the Docker checks are. I think yeah, that's it. It's not much because I didn't want to go deep inside the software because of time. I was told I was presenting with someone else, so I made it short. So any questions for me from anybody? Hello? Anyone hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
hear
can, yes, I hear you, but I don't have a question.
Okay, okay, I'm listening.
Oh no, I said I don't have any questions.
Okay. Does anyone have any question? Okay, if absence of no questions, I'll ask my own question. So the first question is APM an open source software or not? Can someone please unmute and answer, please?
is open source.
Sorry?
Is open source.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel. Sir Samuel. Number two, how many parts or how many categories is the code base of APM divided into? Anyone? Okay, APM divided into five code bases and the code are divided into five categories. So yes, that's all for now. So thank you very much, Victoria. I'm done. The presentation was short because I was told I had limited time, so I didn't want to make it unnecessarily long and bulky.
All right, so it's fine. We appreciate the presentation. I didn't get to the last answer. Did you say APM is divided into 3 parts?
I
The last
said the
answer.
code base, the codes used, commands used are divided in 5 categories. Yes.
Okay, so D is the answer, 5 categories.
Yes.
All right, okay, thank you. Okay, so once again, please, I want to apologize for joining a bit late. I had network issues, like I mentioned. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for the wonderful presentation. And nobody has a question because he asked. All right, so the silence means actually we do not have questions. So please, let's try to check the schedule and send in your public artifact, very important. Send in your brief description, and also don't forget to send in a professional photo for optimization if you are on the schedule. All right, so this is particularly for people that have been added to the income dev center. Okay, so thank you everyone for today. Do have a productive day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.